maybe they could find £5 billion of savings. Of course, nowhere near enough, but at least it was something. But when it came down to it, the Prime Minister and the Chancellor were no match for their left-wing backbenchers. They capitulated and ended up passing a bill that costs money instead. And Mel will talk about that in more detail. But in summary, Labour MPs created a new £5 billion hole in the Chancellor's estimates. And since then, we have had nothing but drift. Last week, we had the farce of the Prime Minister accidentally firing the starting gun on the race to replace him, shooting himself in both feet in the process. So now, instead of trying to make savings in the budget, we are seeing a rush of announcements to appease Labour backbenchers and try to shore up his position. Just a few months ago, Rachel Reeves was saying she couldn't afford to scrap the two-child benefit cap. Now it looks like it's becoming her latest U-turn. So far from bringing down the welfare bill, she's going to add another £3.5 billion to it. That's £8.5 billion she's going to have to find next week in taxes. More taxes to pay for more welfare spending. We need to call this out for what it is. Labour are raising taxes to pay for Keir Starmer's weakness on welfare. All this government is delivering is higher taxes and out-of-control spending. And nobody voted for this. The British public don't want higher welfare spending. They want people to be in work, providing for themselves. Keir Starmer has already broken his manifesto promise not to raise tax on working people with last year's jobs tax. That jobs tax has been passed to all of us through higher prices, lower wages, and lost jobs. Unemployment has gone up every single month since Labour have been in office. Instead of putting up taxes, they should be making savings. They should look at our plan, which we will happily share with them. We have already announced, as many of you know, how we would save £47 billion, including £23 billion from welfare. But they are going in exactly the opposite direction. Ever more spending, ever more welfare. If this Labour government scraps the two-child benefit cap, I want people to know that a future Conservative government will bring it back. The cap makes sure people on benefits have to make the same decisions about having children as everyone else. This is fairness. But this is not the kind of fairness that Labour believe in. Only the Conservatives believe in the fairness of the two-child benefit cap. Every single other party in politics, the Lib Dems, the Greens, and even Reform, want to scrap it. Right now, Nigel Farage and Zia Yusuf are holding a press conference on how they would save money. But in reality, they want to increase benefits by scrapping the two-child benefit cap. They just don't get it. None of these parties do. The Conservative Party are the only party in this country committed to living within our means. However, it is Starmer and Reeves who are actually running the country. And what they are planning to do is freeze income tax thresholds so that more and more people are dragged into higher rates through a stealth tax bombshell. Rachel Reeves even said at the last budget that extending the threshold freeze would hurt working people and take money out of their pay slips. But apparently, she doesn't mind doing that if it will fund more benefits and shut her backbenchers up. Funnily enough, the amount she will raise from breaking her promise on thresholds is almost exactly what she needs to splurge on welfare. The fact is, they are hiking taxes on people in work to give handouts to people out of work. The last group of people who might still vote for Labour. And if it wasn't already clear that Labour are the party of welfare, not the party of working people, it is clear now. Because these changes they are making are not fair, they are not right, and we will oppose them every single step of the way. We have identified £47 billion of savings, including £23 billion from welfare reforms. Labour dismissed that figure because they do not want to admit that any savings are possible. They have given up trying, and that means things will only get worse. There is an alternative. We spent a year doing the hard work to find savings. Our golden economic rule means every pound saved will be split between cutting the deficit and cutting taxes or funding key priorities, like abolishing stamp duty, a measure which will stimulate economic growth, unlock the housing market, and create jobs. Our golden economic rule is honest, it is disciplined, and it is rooted in simple conservative principles. Spend less, tax less, reward effort, restore stability. This is our alternative. It's the conservative plan for a stronger economy. Cut spending, cut tax, back business, and get Britain working again. Thank you. And now, over to Mel.
Thank you, Kemi, and good morning, everyone. The Chancellor wants us all to believe that tax rises are necessary, that they are inevitable, that there is no other way. That simply is not true. This budget is about choices. Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer have shown when it comes to controlling the benefits bill, they lack either the inclination or the backbone to act. In the summer, Labour made a panicked and unfunded U-turn on their welfare changes, which has, as Kemi has set out, left a £5 billion black hole in our public finances. Let's be clear. Even if those savings had been delivered, they would still have seen the benefits bill continuing to skyrocket. But incredibly, the government have now effectively ruled out making any further attempts at savings. The terms of reference for their review of sickness benefits say that it will be conducted assuming that spending is in line with the OBR's forecasts. If you look at those forecasts, you will see that the government is simply planning for failure. In fact, the latest numbers from March showed that spending on PIP alone would rise by almost 1/3 over the course of this Parliament. That's from £27 billion to £35 billion. That's in real terms. And that was assuming that Labour could make the £5 billion of savings, which they have now abandoned. Not only is this a colossal burden on the public finances, it is also trapping millions of people into a life on benefits when many can and should be working. We need serious and fundamental reforms to get people off benefits and into work, and to get a sustainable path. But what are Labour gearing up to do? Precisely the opposite. They look set to scrap the two-child benefit cap, adding a further £3.5 billion of spending to the benefits bill. If that happens, it is hard to see how the Chancellor can justify breaking her promises and putting up taxes on working people. Global factors or any uses has tried. It pay for more and more. It looks incredible that the Chancellor said she would not do in her budget last year. Her exact words were, "I have come to the conclusion that extending the threshold freeze would hurt working people. It would take more money out of their pay slips. I am keeping every single promise on tax that I made in our manifesto. So there will be no extension of the freeze in income tax and national insurance thresholds." In her own words, it will be a breach of the Labour Party manifesto. It will be a stealth tax that will hurt working people. We have calculated that it will cost some families up to £1,300 across the 2 years of that freeze. And it will leave those families paying £900 more in tax every single year going forward. How much will that broken promise raise for the Chancellor? The IFS have estimated it would raise around £8 billion in 29-30. But how much is the Chancellor intending to increase welfare spending? If they abolish the two-child cap on top of the cost of the U-turn in July, That will amount to more than £8 billion added to the tax raid on working people. The policy the Chancellor herself said would be a broken promise will be used simply to pay for Labour's welfare handouts. Labour have totally failed on welfare, and your taxes are going up to pay for it. So I have a simple question for Labour today. Whose side are you on? Because the people who get up in the morning, who go out to work, who juggle a job with raising a family and make sacrifices, who do the right thing, those are destroyed. They see their local high street blowed out. They see their tax going. We're on their side. Those are the people we should be back. And those are the very people paying the price and chaotic Labour government.
Going to questions from the media. Romilly Weeks from ITV.
Thank you. These weekday press conferences are a bit of a reform specialty. In fact, they're running one right now too. Are you worried they're stealing all your oxygen? And secondly, on the asylum reforms announced yesterday, you said they're a step in the right direction. Does that mean helping the government
are in government next time. I don't have a time machine to go back and fix what other people did. We can also see that those things didn't work. We have learned those lessons. Let's try something new. Let's back business. Right now, businesses are struggling, high street businesses in particular. That's why we want to lift the business rates burden off the high street. It is business that creates jobs, not government. That is why we need to get the burden off business.
Key distinction also is if they do extend the freeze of these thresholds, that will be a clear breach of their manifesto commitment.
Exactly, exactly. Nell said it a lot better than I did. This is why we are a team. Yes. Ryan Savey from The Sun.
Thank you. You've been asked repeatedly by Sir Keir Starmer about reversing Labour's increase in employers' national insurance. Business is crying out for it. Will you reverse that decision?
What Keir Starmer is are doing to them right now. So we will reverse that, APR, we will reverse BPR. We've talked about abolishing stamp duty and so much more. On other things, we're going to need some time to look at how we fix the mess that Labour is making. We may have to do something really revolutionary. That's what we're working on. But I have promised that I'm not making. That is my guarantee. We will think through every single thing we do. But we recognize that business has this problem. We know this. We're coming up with ideas and solutions to lift the burden on business. I don't know if you want to add to that.
I think it's absolutely right, Kemi. I mean, the heart of our approach is fiscal responsibility, which means you simply do not make huge promises, even on areas like. We have seen with this government where that kind of approach leads, and we will have right at the heart of everything we do fiscal responsibility.
We want to reduce the tax burden on business. Exactly how we do that, we will explain nearer the time of the election. With the really damaging taxes, we've explained that we will get rid of them, but it's going to take time to sort out the mess that Labour is making.
And we've also said, Kemi, that we will take 250,000 high street businesses out of business rates altogether, for example.
Exactly. Nick Guttridge from The Telegraph.
Lovely, thanks very much. Could I ask you one each? Mel, first, the 47 billion of savings, can you clarify, is that from public spending as it stands now, or public spending as it will stand after the election? In other words, if the Chancellor spends a load more money between now and the election, such as the two-child benefit cap, will you look to cut back the extra she spends and then the 47 billion? Or could the 47 billion actually just be used basically making savings on the extra spending that she does between now and the election? And Kemi, it's sort of related. Some economists are sort of predicting that at some point Britain might end up having to ask for some sort of international bailout because the public debt is getting so big. Do you think it's possible for the country to avoid bankruptcy without cutting welfare?
So on your first question, Nick, that is a figure. 47 is the end of the scorecard, which is 29.30. That is when that saving will be achieved, and on the
in terms of improving work, which means that they are paying taxes to the exchequer. That sense for them to farm. They cannot. Last week, I spoke to companies in the oil and gas sector. They said they're being taxed 102% of their profits. It doesn't make sense. How can we get there into help business, and then we'll grow our economy? Daily Mail?
Thank you. The 2017 and families are going to is quite big payment. Going to back to 2017.